The Spirit's Book, containing the principles of the Spiritist doctrine concerning the immortality of the soul, the nature of spirits and their relationships with humankind, moral laws, the present life, the future life, and the destiny of humanity, according to the teachings given by highly evolved spirits through several mediums, received and coordinated by Allan Kardec. Part 2. The Spirit World, or the World of Spirits. Chapter 3. The Return from the Corporeal to the Spirit Life. The Soul After Death.
What does the soul become at death?
It becomes a spirit again, i.e., it returns to the spirit world, which it had left for a time.
Does the soul preserve its individuality after death?
Yes, it never loses it. What would the soul be if it did not preserve its individuality?
What about the opinion that the soul returns to the universal whole after death?
Don't all the spirits taken together make up a whole? When you're in a group, you are an integral part of it, and yet you still retain your own individuality.
What evidence is there for the soul's individuality after death?
Don't you have such evidence through the communications you receive? If you were not blind, you would see. If you were not deaf, you would hear, because frequently a voice speaks to you and reveals to you the existence of it being outside yourselves.
The separation of the soul from the body.
Is the separation of the soul from the body a painful process?
No, frequently the body suffers more during life than at the moment of death. The soul itself feels nothing at death. The suffering that is sometimes experienced at the moment of death is pleasure for the spirit, for it sees that the end of exile is at hand.
How does the separation of the soul from the body occur?
Once the bonds that held the soul are ruptured, it disengages itself.
Can the final separation between soul and body occur before the complete cessation of organic life?
Sometimes, in the death throes, the soul has already left the body, which has nothing left in it except organic life. The individual no longer has any self-awareness, and yet a faint breath of life still remains. The body is a machine that is kept going by the heart, and it continues to live as long as the heart circulates blood in the veins, and for that it does not need the soul.
At the moment of death, does the soul sometimes experience a yearning or an ecstasy entailing a foreglimpse of the world it is about to re-enter?
The soul often feels that the bonds holding it to the body are loosening, and consequently it employs all its efforts to sever them entirely. Already partially released from matter, it beholds the future unfolding before it, and it enjoys the spirit's state beforehand.
Can the example of the caterpillar, which begins by crawling on the ground, then shuts itself up in its cocoon in apparent death to be reborn into a brilliant existence, provide us an idea of terrestrial life, which is followed by the grave and then a new existence?
A pale idea, the image is good, but you must not take it literally, as you are often prone to do.
What sensation does the soul experience at the moment it realizes that it is in the spirit world?
That depends. If it has done evil for the love of it, the spirit is at first ashamed of what it has done. However, it experiences something completely different. If it has been morally upright, it feels relieved of a great weight, because it does not fear the most scrutinizing glance.
Does a spirit immediately meet those whom it knew on earth and who died before it?
Yes. Depending on the affection they had for one another, they frequently come to receive it as it strives to return to the spirit world, and they help free it from the bonds of matter. It also sees many whom it had lost sight of during its sojourn on earth. Additionally, it sees those who are in the errant state and goes to visit those who are still incarnate.
In violent or accidental death, when the organs are not yet debilitated by age or disease, does the separation of the soul and the cessation of life occur simultaneously?
Usually so. In any case, however, the instant that separates them is very short.
After being beheaded, for example, does an individual remain conscious for a few moments?
Frequently, it remains so for a few moments until the organic life is extinguished once and for all. However, many times the fear of death causes a loss of consciousness before the actual moment of execution.
Upon leaving the body, is the soul immediately conscious of itself?
Immediately is not the right word. It remains in a state of confusion for some time.
Do all spirits experience the confusion that follows the separation of the soul and body to the same degree and for the same amount of time?
No, it depends on how evolved they are. Those who are already purified are almost immediately self-aware because of their detachment from matter during corporeal life. However, carnal individuals with impure consciences retain the impression of matter much longer.
Does an understanding of Spiritism have any influence on the shorter or longer duration of this confusion?
It has a very considerable influence because the Spirit understood what its situation would be beforehand. The practice of good and purity of conscience exerts the most influence, however.
The spirit's state of confusion after death.
Upon leaving the body, is the soul immediately conscious of itself?
Immediately is not the right word. It remains in a state of confusion for some time.
Do all spirits experience the confusion that follows the separation of the soul and body to the same degree and for the same amount of time?
No, it depends on how evolved they are. Those who are already purified are almost immediately self-aware because of their detachment from matter during corporeal life. However, carnal individuals with impure consciences retain the impression of matter much longer.
Does an understanding of Spiritism have any influence on the shorter or longer duration of this confusion?
It has a very considerable influence because the Spirit understood what its situation would be beforehand. The practice of good and purity of conscience exerts the most influence, however.